All right, I want to do a little rebuttal here now. So anyone who says I don't understand private sector debt is a fool, okay? Because anyone who understands MMT intrinsically and deeply and profoundly understands private sector debt. Because if you understand sovereign money, if you understand government debt, if you understand sectoral balances, then you also understand private sector debt, probably at a level higher than so-called experts who study private sector debt. And if you don't understand this stuff, I'll give you a quick lesson right now, and you will understand it better than the experts, okay? So listen up. When the government runs a deficit, when the government is spending more than its income, then by definition, the private sector's debt as a percentage of its overall financial balance, okay, by that assets minus liabilities or its net worth, its debt as a percentage of its overall financial balance goes down, okay, gets reduced. Why is that? Because when the government spends more than its income, it is literally funneling financial assets to the private sector. So it's the assets increase and the debt as a percentage of its overall financial balance goes down. Okay, its net worth goes up. And vice versa. When the government reduces its debt, in other words, when it taxes us more than it spends, it is literally taking away financial assets. So the private sector's net worth goes down, and by definition as well, the private sector debt as a percentage of the overall financial balance goes up. Okay? Now, what happened in 2006, 2007, and these people, these flunkies, they keep going back to this, trying to say that a certain person, called the housing crash. That was sheer luck. That guy, I know that guy since 2000. He was calling the housing crash. He has no clue. All right. And by the way, there might even be some articles out there that I wrote in 2006 because I was contributing to one of these financial websites at the time. I forget the name, but I was writing about the high flying nature of the housing market, and I thought there could be a correction, but no financial crash. And I'll get into that in a second. And I've spoken about that already. But what happened in 2006, 2007 was that the government reduced the deficit. The deficit came down to about 1% or less of GDP. So the government, by reducing its deficit, literally increased the debt burden of the private sector by virtue of what I explained a little earlier. And at the same time, by the way, the Fed raised the rates from 1% to 5.25%, a huge, percentage increase to try to fight inflation, when in fact it was driving inflation, right? So I mean, that triggered the whole thing off. By the way, back then, and you could look this up, the debt burden as a percentage of income was at an all-time record high. Debt service burdens were at an all-time record high as a percentage of income. And in case you're wondering, right now it's at a 40-year low. So very, very reasonable right now. But back then it was at an all-time record high. And that's important, because having debt is one thing, but the ability to service the debt, that's what's important. If you have debt, but you can pay every month, nothing bad's going to happen. You might have a little bit of debt, but you can't pay, something bad is going to happen. So that's what went on back then. And by the way, there never should have been a financial crash. Never, if the Fed had done the right thing, and I will stand by that till kingdom come. All right? And the proof of the matter is, once the Fed understood what it needed to do, which was to lend on an unlimited and open-ended basis, the whole thing stopped. But it took them 4 or 5 months to realize that. But that's the proof. Once they started doing what they needed to do, the whole thing stopped. The subprime mortgage market was a tiny fraction of the overall mortgage market. And there was no way that that thing should have brought down the whole entire global economy. But it nearly did, all right? And these guys, come on. Wise up already. They've been predicting crashes since 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. Come on, don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. You keep bringing this up. I'm really sick of it.